Hi everyone, Alistair here. I thought I'd start the year off with a bit of commentary around an excellent blog that Martin Lindstrom has posted recently. Martin is someone with whom we've worked in the Middle East, where he's made recommendations to a large organisation out there, which we've then taken and helped them breathe life into, to operationalise them, to make them something that they can bring to life day in, day out, to delight the customers and make the company stand out amongst the competition. Martin's a leader in his field, and he highlights in his blog that we will never again experience change as slowly as we did last year. It's happening at ever increasingly fast cycles, and now what's very clear is technology is driving social change rather than the other way around. That switch happened quite some time ago now, and because the cycles of new technological innovation are happening ever more quickly, the impact on social change is coming about ever more quickly. Now, one of the things that helps us as human beings survive change and adapt is our ability to think, right? And it's one of the things that sets us apart from animals. Key element of our thinking brain that helps us put ourselves in the shoes of others, to see things from their perspective and ultimately to empathize with them, is the anterior insular cortex. And it's a very important part of the brain. But what Martin's suggesting is that it is actually under attack. The first of his predictions is that empathy is being eroded by too much transparency. It's quite an interesting one, this. We seem to think that ever more transparency is actually a positive thing. He suggests it isn't. Our lives now are so available to others. Think about it, your LinkedIn profile, how many people follow you, how many comments you've got to posts that you've made, and so on. We've never before compared ourselves so much, and it seems that this is actually eroding our self-esteem. You only have to look at suicide rates, particularly amongst youngsters, where there's some frightening statistics. Between 2020 to 2017, the suicide rate for 10 to 17-year-olds increased 75%. That is horrendous. We'll come back to this in a moment when we explore the third prediction for 2020. The second prediction Lindstrom makes is that we are ever more retreating into safe havens. And what he means by this, and you would have noticed it I'm sure, is that in order for us to feel human, more human, we surround ourselves with people who think like us, act like us, behave like us, enjoy the same things as us, share the same beliefs, and so on. Think back to the US presidential election. Build that wall. Like it or loathe it, it's something that resonated with 53 million Americans. Over in Europe, we've got the Brits who voted to close their borders to Europe, and we're now embarking on enacting Brexit. So it seems we like to surround ourselves with like-minded people. It's very interesting when you look at online communities. Apparently, the statistics show that online communities within sectors are actually decreasing, which suggests that people are becoming more and more niche. They're contracting to follow more specific sites, for example, or personalities where they feel they have a strong affinity, they share ideas. And then this is amplified by algorithms behind social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and so forth, which push ever more content your way that supports your worldview. There seems to be an ever-increasing degree of polarisation going on in society these days, and that's causing us to withdraw into the groups with whom we have strong affinity. Think about this in terms of empathy, and think of it in terms of the speed of change as well. Again, I'll come back to that in a moment. The third scary prediction that Lindstrom makes is that we are killing empathy, and we're going to see a reduction in empathy. In fact, we're already seeing a reduction in empathy in society. Lindstrom cites a piece of research done at the University of Michigan, which demonstrated a 40% reduction in levels of empathy in students, although I'm not sure over what time period that occurred. Nonetheless, it is a reduction, and one that seems to be happening across society these days, sadly. Linked to this is how we seem to be being manipulated actually by technology. When you think previously of social change driving technological change, with the inverse, technological change is now driving social change, which is actually having an impact on our brains. It's changing the way we think. It's changing some of the structures within the brain, ultimately. 15 years ago, how many times did you reach for your pocket to check how many likes you've had or how many views you had on something you put online? Probably very, very seldom. Now it's a regular habit amongst most people. And you think about it when you go to the bus stop or you're waiting for someone outside and everybody else is looking at their phones, aren't they? So you do the same thing because you fit in. It helps us feel like we fit in. But actually, paradoxically, it cuts off our ability to meet other people. So Lindstrom asserts that this is having a negative impact on our ability to empathise. And I have to say, I agree with him. He did an experiment 2 years ago where he just decided, you know what? My mobile phone is taking over my life. Other leaders in their field have mentioned similar things. Simon Sinek, for example, is notable among them. And so anyway, Lindstrom decided he was going to get rid of his phone, at least for chunks of time, in order to have time to reflect. Because let's face it, the amount of time we spend reflecting these days has almost certainly been negatively impacted by technology. Rather than taking a step back and analysing our day, it's much more likely that we'll go onto our mobile phones and read the news or watch something that's come up on your LinkedIn stream or whatever it is. It's a lot of bombardment of information and very little time taken for yourself to step back and, linked in with that, think about things from other people's perspective. And I've got to hold my hands up and say I have noticed the impact on myself, on my family. And so it's quite an opportune occurrence, actually. I've got quite an old phone. I haven't bothered upgrading it recently. It works, you know. And the other day I dropped it and smashed the screen. So I haven't bothered replacing it. And actually I've left it in my office at meal times so that I cannot be contacted. And you know what? I learned something about my son that I'd never realised. He's 12 years old now, and there's something in particular that he enjoys doing. I've had a presumption about it. But by not having my phone in my pocket, not being distracted by that, and really placing my focus of attention on him and thinking, what's going on for him when he's doing this? He's opened up with a whole host of really fascinating stuff that it never crossed my mind, and made me wake up to the fabulous creativity he has, the level of creativity, and just being able to visualize things. Really, really fabulous. I'm so grateful. So Martin, thank you very much for the jolt to say, you know what, stuff your phone for a while. Yes, you need it during the working day for chunks of time, but you will really benefit from putting it away for significant chunks of time too. So, how much do you want your brain to be modified by technology? Technology is a fabulous thing, don't get me wrong, but it's also having really quite a negative sapping impact on us as human beings. And as we think about our longer term survival, is it really a reduction in empathy that's going to help us survive the next decade, the next century, the next millennia? I'm not convinced. Be really interested to know your opinion, your thoughts, and if you enjoy putting your phone away for however long it takes to make a difference, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Enjoy some reflection time, enjoy some special connection time, particularly with those that you love most. Take care. Bye for now.